Jai Hind everyone. Good evening. Today I Vikrant Singh welcoming you all in the another live session of United Youth, which is a group came forward to help and support the nation in this pandemic, and we will continue to do so. Today we are having with us a very great personality, Dr. Priyanath A. Ghosh, MA, MPhil, PhD, Head of Department of Defense and Strategic Studies, Bosla Military College. I would like to start this session by giving a short intro of Sir. Sir is a resident of Agartala, graduated from Calcutta Universities, completed his MA, MPhil, and PhD from Department of Science and Department of Defense and Strategic Science from Savitribai Phule Pune University. Sir has been guiding PhD students in defense studies from Pune universities. Also, I'm feeling very honored to tell you that many of Sir's students are now professor in various Indian and foreign universities as well. Sir has completed 4 research programs on the theme India's national security, funded by ICSSR, UGC, and BCUD of Savitribai Phule Pune University. And Sir is also a recipient of Ideal Teacher Award in the year 2019 from Ape Aploki's Multi-Purpose Social Organization, Nasik. Sir is also working as a Peace Ambassador from the year 2018. And his appointments are made by the Center of Peace Studies, Sri Lanka, affiliated to United Nations Organization. And Sir has been appointed as a professor by Center of Peace Studies, Sri Lanka. Today, Sir has joined with us to enlighten us on the topic scope of conflict, peace, and studies. So I would like to hand over to Sir. Sir, please continue the session.
Sincere thanks to organizers of United Youth who all have come forward to help all needy of pandemic sufferer, and also at the same time I would like to express thanks to all of them who had identified me as a resource person to speak on a very diverse, dynamic topic about the scope of conflict and peace studies. At the outset, I would like to tell to all the participants who have joined in this program that I would be speaking very basic of the subject, because I believe there are many undergraduate students who must have not studied this particular academic discipline, and they might find that altogether a new subject. Now, I would like to clarify to all the participants in this session that I have a specific reason to choose this particular topic, because I was asked by many members of the United Youth that why I had given the name of my own foundation, Peace Research. While giving the name of my own foundation, for the purpose of, I have a very specific reasons. After having my teaching and research experience for last 37 years, I can very fondly say that in days to come, the whole global system or the societal system under which we live are going to be very competitive, very dynamic, and also at the same time, I have no doubt that it is going to have a, very many complex issues which requires in-depth research for finding solution to all issues which we do face day by day or in day-to-day life. I would be actually touching many points which would be very basic. As I told that I have been teaching national security, international security, India's foreign policy, defense policy, and many more subjects like defense economics, strategic thought for last 33 years to my postgraduate students as well as to MPhil PhD students or even undergraduate students. My earnest appeal to all of you is to think the rationale behind of introducing the subject like war studies, conflict studies, peace studies, national security studies, defense and strategic studies, whatever name you say. Very many names have been given, but if you see the dimensions, parameter, including research methodology to study all these particular subjects are almost, revolved with only 2-3 issues, which I would highlight. Now, for the purpose of telling you the importance of this subject, let me remind what Albert Einstein said. He said, we need all essentially new way of thinking if mankind is to survive. Man must radically change their attitudes towards each other and their views of the future. Force must no longer be an instrument of politics. Today we do not have much time left. It is up to our generation to succeed in thinking differently. If we fail, the days of civilized humanity are numbered. There are 1,000 peoples who have advocated and promoted the academic discipline of peace research, peace education, conflict studies in whatever way. Now, what I would like to tell to you all, you need to realize that conflict is a natural phenomenon of the individual behavior. There is disagreement. There is bound to be differences. Now, what I would like to tell to all of you, that you must be very clear in terms of the concept as well as the understanding when we use particularly very many terminology in the field of conflict and peace studies, which of course is a part of international relation. Now, let me remind you, it was in the year of 1984 when I was a first year postgraduate student in Pune University. At that time, only 4 universities in India used to offer post-graduation degree in this particular subject, whether you say defense and strategic studies, defense studies, national security studies, whatever name you might give. The same subject was named as a military science when I was doing my graduation under Kolkata University. So within the span of 40 years almost, I am directly or indirectly involved to see the evolution of this subject and the development which have taken place during the period of my teacher, during my regime, where I was involved in framing syllabus at the national level, state level of many. Now, what I would like you all need to understand that conflict and peace studies, it belongs to the discipline of international relation. And international relation also belongs to the subject of political science. It was in the 1980s when I was a student, my teacher used to tell me that political science has 6 branches, including public administration. And again, international relation has given birth to the subject of national security studies, strategic studies, or you named in whatever way, but the subject matter, it revolves only towards conflict analysis and conflict resolution. Now, since you are studying at UG level, many of you, I would like to, make very clear about the concept of peace studies and conflict studies and their meaning. Now, when we refer to the terminology called conflict studies, what really we mean to say that conflict takes place when there is a disagreement, there is a differences in terms of individual interest, group interest, nation interest, whatever you say. Now, when you keep individual as an object to study about the basic causes or root causes of the conflict, and thereafter you would like to find out the mechanism to solve, let me tell you how you really need to understand. Say, for example, as an individual, when you lead your day-to-day life, you are engaged in many activities. Whether it is in the social sphere of your life, economic sphere of your life, when you are a participant in the political system, in whatever form it is, whether it is a democracy, whether it is anarchical, or it is a dictatorial system, whatever way you might say, that as an individual you start thinking that conflict starts where? Conflict starts in the mind of an individual. Because when you do interact with anyone, whether with your family members or anyone of your society, or say as a member of the state, you need to think that why you disagree to many things which you cannot, formulate a common sense of integrity when somebody, say that I would like to do this way, that way, or you say that I would like, this is my choice, this is my preference. So what I mean to say, for example, it is bound to happen because every individual has a different taste, every individual has a different choice. And therefore, you see, when we say man journeys together must formulate a common interest, then there is a sense of integrity, there is a sense of harmony. And if you are not in a position to, identify your own interest and you harmonized the interest of others, then it becomes a very difficult job. Now, today you take an example that yesterday what had happened in Bangalore, that somebody had posted in the Facebook or, in social media, and then you see that there is a violence, there is a riot. Now, what I mean to say, if I as an individual would like to speak from Indian perspective, then I have many points to tell you that how we really need to understand the conflict studies. Or somebody who is sitting in the very advanced society, he might have a different perception to understand, but there are certain commonalities which you need to understand. So one thing is very clear, that when I talk about the conflict studies, that means it will always revolve with the sense of your disagreement, differences, not necessarily that all the conflicts will give a shape of your physical violence. Now, when I say peace studies always aimed at to find the mechanism either for the purpose of peace maintenance or peacemaking. Now you need to understand what is the difference between peacemaking and peace maintaining. Maintaining means you have an existing social order, economic order, political order, cultural order, in which you agree with each and every one, and therefore you would like to maintain the order without disturbing the system. Now, when I say peacemaking, peace building, that means something has gone wrong and you would like to restore to the earlier position. If your society at one point of time lived in harmony, there might be a disturbance, and therefore you would like to restore. Let us take an example from Indian context. That if you look today to Indian political system, social system, or even law and order situation, you find there are 1,000 problems that society is facing. You keep aside the recent ongoing issue of pandemic. According to me, this is a very huge crisis which has disturbed the life of each and every one. Now, when you say that your normal life has been disturbed because of certain developments, because of certain unwanted happenings, either to your life or to society at large. Therefore, what we need to understand, before understanding that conflict and peace studies, one really needs to understand also the concept of nation state, sense of nationalism, and in which you will have to have, the concept of value, national power, for the purpose of protection, how you need to, project your national power. When I am talking about the value system, you need to understand that you are a part of the state. You need to study the formation of a state, its historical background, to understand how this peace and conflict studies is evolving as an academic discipline in our education system. Now, what I would like to tell to all of you, the concept of peace, the concept of conflict is not very new phenomenon. Even if you start from 19th century, before the First World War, there are a lot many developments had taken place where people need to come in one platform to discuss, to resolve their own differences. Let us take an example. If you are well aware about the subject of international law, and you know what are the content that we do study in the international law, or even if you read the history of the formation of League of Nations and subsequently the formation of United Nations Organization, why all those world level organization was needed? It was needed for the purpose of either maintaining stability, security, and peace. At the global level, I am talking. And one has to also study the main causes of the First World War, main causes of the Second World War, even after or before the First World War, how many wars were fought at the global level, at the regional level, at the national level. Now let us take an example. After the World War II, you find that most of the newly born nation states from Africa, Latin America, or Asia were born. Since then, you need to realize that how many wars have been fought in this earth, whether it is a conventional war, whether it is a limited scale of war, whether it is cross-border terrorism, whatever you say. You know why all those wars have been fought and how all these wars have been rationalized? Now you have to understand that when we are talking about international relations, we live in an interdependent society. Each and every state is dependent on one another. Therefore, one thing is very sure, that you cannot live in isolation because you are not 100% self-reliant. Even state like America is also not 100% self-reliant because they have to buy certain commodities from the international market, and they have to have their own market in terms of exporting or selling their products. So what I'm saying that when we talk about the economic integration at the global level, we all are interdependent. Therefore, anything is happening at the global level will directly affect your own lifestyle, or whatever you say. In whatever fashion you say, it might also influence your own thought, or you might be forced to accept the terms and conditions which are being imposed either on you or you might have agreed. So what I mean to say, that you need to understand that when we talk about the conflict and peace studies, it is a subject of everyone. Why I am saying so? Now, say for example, you all will understand that changing nature of warfare from limited to unlimited warfare. The basic philosophy of war and basic philosophy of peace. Where or medieval period, or you go to the period of Ramayana and Mahabharata, the history has proved that human beings are nothing but they are the social animal. And they have a natural urge to fight against each other for the purpose of, fulfilling their basic needs, their greeds, or whatever you say. And in this context, you will have to remember all the philosophers who had contributed to the basic concept of war philosophy, like in Indian philosopher Kautilya, who was the Prime Minister of Chandragupta Maurya. He had given the guidelines to his prince that how best he can, rule his own state. And what was his idea? He said that you always need to be supreme. You cannot allow your opponent to become equal to you. Once you allow your opponent to become equal, you are in danger, and therefore you must always strive. You must always make an effort to remain supreme. And his basic philosophy is might is right. As long as I am happy, I don't have to bother. So what I mean to say, from 19th century, if you study that how many theories have been evolved in the international politics. As on today, more than 100 theories have been formulated, have been advocated for the purpose to understand the interstate behavior. Now, most prominent school of thoughts are, say, for example, realism. Kautilya belongs to this particular school of thought, who believes in power. International relations is nothing, but it is the power game. You always have to keep on striving to increase your power for the purpose of, achieving your national goal. So if you see very recently what is happening between India and China, I would refer this as an example. Like Kautilya, Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu also belongs to the realist school of thought. Machiavelli also belongs to this particular school of thought. And if you see international politics, why I am referring this particular, world order system, I am not talking, say, 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, what had happened. We being an Indian, we need to understand that we were ruled by how many rulers? Who were all the rulers? They came from where? They subjugated, they dominated, they ruled all of us years together. And you find Britishers, they have ruled this country for almost 200 years. From the historical background, you would definitely agree that any nation state who is very powerful, either it is in terms of your technologically or economically, or say whatever the ingredients contributes to the concept of national power in real terms, always had expanded their territory. And therefore you find before the Second World War we were ruled, or even the colonial power and imperial powers had expanded. Their colonialism and imperialism, particularly in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and they had ruled all those states for the purpose of economic exploitation. And therefore you find during First World War and Second World War, world order was in a multipolar system. Now what I mean to say multipolar system is that there are very many powers who shared their power in the management of international affairs. And therefore you find whether it was Germany or it was United Kingdom, I must say the present generation, including me, even we were very lucky to have born in a newly independent state where we have got the freedom. But our earlier generation, you know, the amount of sacrifice they have made for making this country free from the foreign rulers. And my appeal to each and every one that no one must forget their sacrifices and who all had contributed to ensure that we lead a very, comfortable and better life. And our earlier generation, I would say in totality that almost everyone has contributed in one way or the other as a participatory in the national building. Now, what I would like to say here that when a particular school of thought realist who teaches how we need to understand the international politics, and their argument is that international politics is nothing but it is a power game. So they only see as a power, as an object which is not again visible, but almost all the states will always strive to increase, to strengthen their power for the purpose of dominating, subjugating, or ruling other states. Now, I am not talking about all the theories, all the approaches for the purpose of understanding your international politics. I would only highlight two schools of thoughts, and then I would submit that you need to understand that what is very pragmatic, and accordingly you might influence your own mind as well as you might try to influence the mind of others for the purpose of living in harmony in your society, and then it can help you to bring integrity to each other for the purpose of your common values, common interest. Let me take an example. After the Second World War, when I say before the Second World War, the world system was in a multipolar, but after the World War II, it became truly bipolar. Now, what do you mean by bipolar system? From 1945 onwards, there are only two major powers. One was United States of America, the other one was former Soviet Union. Now, one bloc which was led by United States of America, they believe in free market economic system, they believe in capitalism, and they are called liberal, democratic country. On the other hand, former Soviet Union, who believes in market control economic system and who believes in, conservatism. That means in a closed society where, there are certain rights which are the subject of deciding by the state, not is given to the individual to enjoy rights or whatever you say. What I mean to say, it is just the opposite of the democratic system. And it continued till 1979-80, and you find always they dominated the world order. After the Soviet disintegration, many scholars from international politics, they have argued, saying that bipolar system is no more, it is the unipolar system, where it is a single power who is to be regarded as a superpower, that is America. Now, what I mean to say that within the span of these 40 years, 50 years, you could see that how the changes are taking places. At this moment, the scholars from international relations would say America is no more a dominating power. There are lot many states who are equally becoming, powerful, and their context is that America not only enjoys of having nuclear bomb or nuclear missiles, there are lot many powers other than the members of the nuclear club, United Kingdom, China, France. There are almost 20 states who has become nuclear power. And they say it is on the basis that they can be regarded that they have acquired first strike capacity and also second strike capacity, which can overkill and it can destroy the whole civilization. Now, what I mean to say is that how the world system have, kept on changing, and you see there is a concept of globalization where you find that the whole world has become very small because your economy is integrated with the world economy. So what I mean to say when you say that conflict and peace studies, the importance of the subject is to be seen not only at the domestic level, because from third world perspective, if you see that we have 100 problems at our home, which we are not in a position to resolve. And once you resolve all those problems, it can bring the social cohesion, and therefore students from this particular discipline always must increase the knowledge about the subject matter theoretically as well for the purpose of practice. Now, how do we practice the knowledge which we gain from this particular discipline? I would come in my next point. Now, there are lot many participants, I believe, who are from the discipline of military science, national security, and strategic studies. Now, what I would actually like to highlight in this deliberation, that why Indian university system need to introduce this particular subject. My idea is very, very clear, where I have argued that this subject is definitely to be made as a compulsory subject. The reason is very clear. Today, the concept of security is not only, consist the military aspect of life. It consists each and every activities that we perform today. And our challenges, our threats are not alike which we had even, a decade before. Today you could see what is our threats. All the threats are invisible. And therefore, you see, I would refer that what is happening in the border area of India and China, whether it is in the Galwan Valley or any parts of Ladakh region, and we say that we are in the stand of phase, and the discussions are going, negotiations are going between India and China at the diplomatic level. So what we really need to understand, that unless and until you understand the different dimensions of a particular problem, you will not be in a position to find mechanism to resolve these particular issues. So what my argument is that when we say that conflict and peace studies and security studies about the dimension as well as the scope of the subject, once you need to understand this is one area which is very diverse, which is very dynamic, which is very complex. The reason is very simple. The reason is that it encompasses all the academic disciplines which are being taught in the university system, whether it is psychology, sociology, international relation, political science, any subject you name, it will come in the purview of security studies today, as on today. And therefore, my argument is that when I talk about the concept of security, it is not a watertight compartment, but it encompasses each and every elements of human life. And therefore we say that when we need to have, many spheres of our life, whether it is economy, life of the people, social, cultural, or political, so it encompasses, it embraces all the aspects of life. At one point of time, we used to understand that security means when a nation does not have to sacrifice the geographical integrity of the state. But as on today, when we talk about the security, we say that when an individual do not have the sense of fear, the sense of insecurity, and he must be given all the opportunities to exploit his own value system meaning thereby that whatever rights, whatever justice, whatever equality that your society needs to ensure. Ensure in a sense, say, even in terms of my belief system. If I am born in a Hindu family where I had seen my ancestors, how they do practice the religion, what are their belief system. If I have inherited all the belief systems and I would like also to perform like my ancestors, there must not be any threats, there must not be any challenges. And therefore, I have a sense of security. Whether you in terms of food security, whether in terms of your right to education, right to your privacy, in whatever you say, that whether it is in a democratic system or any social system, you need to have, certain rights for the purpose of your, exploiting or to proving your own talent, whether it is relates to your education system, whether it is a social system. And therefore, what you need to, compare that each and every society is governed, within a framework, and where you fit to that system has to give you assurance that nothing will happen to you, and you always must have a sense of security. Without fear, you must be in a position to lead your own life. And how is it possible? Like, for example, whether it is your social system, whether it is your economic system, whether it is a political system. And therefore you find that, when the conflict takes place at very many front, virtual level, cultural level, and therefore you need to find a suitable mechanism in which your security is ensured. Now, what you really need to understand that when we are talking about the global system in relation to your conflict and peace studies, how our system has developed, very many model for the purpose of ensuring security or preventing any challenges. Let us take an example. I do not know how many of you are actually aware about the model like balance of power, collective security, concept of non-alignment, concept of deterrence, concept of mutual assured destruction, concept of flexible response, whether it is at the conventional level or at the nuclear level. And how it was possible to formulate or develop all those concepts? It is because the people who are engaged in peace studies, they have developed all the theories, they have developed all the models for the purpose of preventing military challenges, for the purpose of ensuring the state security. Let us take, for example, what do we mean by balance of power? Balance of power means it is the sense of equilibrium. Equilibrium in a sense, at one point of time you find that nation states had fought war one after another. After the World War II in 1950s and 60s, there are a lot many scholars who came forward and said that when two powers are equal, they will not fight against each other. And therefore peace can be maintained. If I have 10 bombs, you also will have 10 bombs. So you don't dare to launch attack against me because you are not very sure that you will win the war. And you have perceived that either you will not win or you will not lose. And if the same perception also I have, I will not fight against my enemy. And let us take an example how this model has worked between India and China. Because you find that during last 35 years, or you say, for example, from the year of 1962, when we had a very lack of strategic perception, as a result, we were defeated. China became, victorious state in 1962. Now you need to understand that our perception and their perception are altogether different, because basically we are a non-alignment state in which we say the 5 principles of Buddhist philosophy would be practiced. Mutual respect, non-interference, and all other principles are being practiced by the government of India, by the people of India, who always believed live and let live. If you see our foreign policy and defense policy, in the 1950s, I have no doubt that our rulers had decided not to spend much money for the purpose of defense. The reason was very simple, that we never perceived that there was anyone who were our enemy. Even though soon after the independence we had fought a war with Pakistan, in Jammu and Kashmir, but still our leaders had perceived that we have no enemy. In 1960s, if you see our defense budget, our defense preparedness, we never thought that we had an enemy who is just next door to us. Whether it is Pakistan, as on today you regards, or China, as on today you regards. And you might study the LAC, LOC, or the border area where you find that China deliberately had taken many parts of our land. If you really read the history, it is an undeniable fact. Therefore, you have to study the relation between Aksai Chin, McMahon Line, etc., etc., etc. We were not aiming to grab the lands of others. So what I mean to say, whether you like it or you don't like it, sometimes you may be forced to understand the subject matter because it relates to your basic value. Basic value in a sense. Therefore, I say all of you really need to study, the basic features of a state. How the state has been formed. What are the ingredients of the state? There are 4 ingredients which relates to your very existence. Whether it is your sovereignty, or it is in terms of geographical integrity, population. So what I mean to say, that you need to start studying from that level, and then you come to realize that why we need to remain integrated, why we need to have a social cohesion, why we need to resolve our own internal crisis, internal problems. To my mind, is very clear that if you really need to see that find out all the mechanism, you need to always strive, you need to engage yourself for the purpose of development of the state. The actual development only can come when there is a stability, when there is a peace. Even when I was watching the TV, I was very surprised that yesterday in Bangalore city, the police stations were ransomed, vehicles were burned. You see, when we are trying to take 2 steps ahead, because of all unwanted development which are taking place, we need again to go 1 step behind. And on the other hand, we might argue that by 2030s, India can become a great power, superpowers who can counter China. Do you think it would be possible unless and until we resolve our own crisis and we do not form the social cohesion, when we cannot have an understanding that what is the basic interest of our state? Each and every one who lives in this country must be very clear what is the basic value of our life. So therefore, what I need to say, whether you like it or you don't like it, as on today, one has to realize that either you need to have knowledge in this subject, or you would like to become a participatory in the process of formulation mechanism for the resolution of the crisis, that it has become a business of each and every one. Why I am saying so? You need to understand, when I was referring the changing nature of warfare. In ancient period, in medieval period, or even in the period of Ramayana and Mahabharata, you must have witnessed how the wars were fought. Even in 1950s, when war was fought in the border area of Kashmir, hardly anyone knew, sitting in Mumbai, that what was happening in the border area. But as on today, you find that you have developed the technology in such a way, and the capacity of your technology of inflicting damages to your life and their property is unbearable. And therefore, what you need to see, the dimensions of the conflict and peace studies. Now, I would like to talk about the research methodology of studying this particular subject. You all are the young scholars. You will definitely understand that in which area that you would like to have specialization, because it has a very many dimensions. Like when I was studying, defense management, defense economics is one of my specialized area. So accordingly, you have to formulate your research hypothesis at the post-graduation level while you are writing your own project. Now, what I mean to say are a part of this, but you need to think that in which area that you need to have specialization, and in which area that you have your own interest for the purpose of contributing to this particular academic discipline. And you might adopt a historical approach, analytical approach, or you might formulate very many theories on the basis of your scientific study. And you see, as I said, that this particular discipline is a truly multidisciplinary. And therefore, what I need to tell you, that anyone who you named today who has actually specialized in this particular subject are mostly from the science background. Even teacher from chemistry, teacher from physics, teacher from any other area are also doing their own specialization by means of doing MPhil, PhD. I have many students who are from science background but studying this particular subject and doing their research work. Now, if I have to talk about the scope of the subject, what I mean to say, that how you can build your career. If you go to YouTube channel, there are few teachers who has uploaded YouTube channel where they said that a student from conflict and peace studies, what career they can opt, or as an NCC cadet, what I would like you to say that it is a good combination, that if you have completed your C certificate with A grade and you have studied this particular subject simultaneously, because there are many universities today in India who are offering certificate program, postgraduate diploma, and thereafter post-graduation, MPhil, PhD.
एक सेकंड सर, मी फक्त एक दुसरा स्टुडिओ ऑन करतो आणि मग परत तुम्ही करा.
ओके, आता काय करायचं?
हा सर, आता मी लाईव्ह जातोय. हा नमस्कार, मी तन्मय दीक्षित. आज आपल्या फार्मबुक एमईटी लाईव्ह सेशन या पेज वरती आणि सहाय्यक कृषी अधिकारी या पेज वरती आपण सगळेजण ऑनलाईन आलेलो आहोत. आज ब्रिगेडियर हेमंत महाजन सर जे आहेत ते आपल्याला पुढील जो विषय आहे त्याच्यावरती मार्गदर्शन करणार आहेत. नमस्कार सर.
I would like to tell to all the NCC cadets that how you can think of building your career in this area. You have to prepare for the SSB, and simultaneously you must study because I told you that this particular subject is a truly multidisciplinary. It deals with the current affairs. This would help you to prepare your general paper, whether it is for MPSC, UPSC, CDS, or whatever competitive examination that you would like to appear and take up your profession. Now, one might say that what are the scope of this subject? Let me tell you that in days to come, the peace and conflict studies is going to be a full-fledged academic discipline very soon. There are almost 1,000 universities, I might say, at world level who are offering PG diploma, post-graduation degree, and research degree in this particular subject. The reason is very simple, that people have realized that for the purpose of your social, economic, technological, or whatever sphere of your life and bringing development, you really need to resolve all the crises, and all the crises can be resolved by means of agreeing to each other when we are talking about the social cohesion. And therefore, this subject is gaining importance, and you could see the dimension of our security are also becoming very complex and dynamic when we talk about the cyber security, space security, food security, water security, etc., etc. You might all have realized the importance of studying all those issues, because at one point of time, even persons like me never thought people would fight for water. And you might see that there are so many, murder have taken place even last year when I was watching TV, that there was no sufficient water, and due to the scarcity of water, that people killed each other. So what I mean to say is that you really take interest in this subject, and you can build your career by means of joining any think tank, becoming a good journalist, and even joining in many international and national agencies, and which can give you a better career, whether it is intelligence forces, disaster management, or diplomats, or there are very many avenues as far as I am concerned. Or you appear as a CDS exam, or go for SSB. If you acquire the knowledge of this subject, you will become a very good manager at all level, because ultimately strategic studies which actually taught is that you need to have management skill in a sense that you must be in a position to complete your task with minimum resources without wasting the resources. That is what entrepreneurs or corporates or at the government level, everybody would like to see, that every individual must become efficient manager in a sense of minimum input, maximum output. So I would appeal all of you that you see the Indian university side, even IGNOU has started certificate course. There are very many universities who have introduced PG diploma course. And if you wish to do your post-graduation, either it is on national security, defense and strategic studies, peace and conflict studies, whatever name you might give, this would actually give, diverse knowledge for the purpose of, understanding very many national, international issues which are linked to the life of the people in social sphere, economic sphere, military sphere, whatever you say. And this will actually broaden your thinking, perception. And if you have any questions, I have only highlighted very basic concept of conflict and peace studies. And if you would like to, have a specialized lecture on any given topic, say for example, what was the historical background of formation of United Nations and what the peacekeeping mission or peacekeeping forces role and how it function, etc., etc., any topic that you can decide and can discuss with me. I think I really appreciate all of you for coming together and giving something to the society and thinking very pragmatic way. And I must actually congratulate that you at this age have thought that you would bring very many brains together and share your knowledge, because as far as I am concerned, sharing knowledge is really truly gives you a platform to learn. Once again, I thank you to each and every one. If you have any questions, I do welcome to answer your question. Thank you.
I think time is over ना 6 o'clock.
आपल्या काय प्रश्न वेळ किती लागला ना?
अच्छा मैं वो सोच रहा था
ये सब फेसबुक में कितना लोग आया?
वही अभी हम एक एक रीड करेंगे.
हाँ, कुछ कमेंट पॉइंट है तो
मतलब ये एक है, उसके बाद जो है
मैंने बोला था सबको कमेंट करने के लिए.
हाँ, तो ये सब है. ठीक है.
अच्छा, मैंने जो ग्रुप में से ज्वाइन किया उनको ही दिखाई दे रहा है क्या?
नहीं, सबको तो जो भी रहेंगे ना वो यहाँ पे दिखेंगे. तो यहाँ पे विनोद शर्मा सर हैं, उन्होंने भी अटेंड किया है.
Okay, sir. It was a very informative session. Thank you so much, sir. I, on behalf of whole team of United Youth Organization, extend a very heartily vote of thanks. Thank you so much, sir, for these fruitful lessons. Also, I would like to thank Tanmay Dixit, sir, for his technical support. And I will also like to thank Ashok Saini, sir, for selflessly leading us. At last, I would like to thank all our viewers for their support and motivation. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.